Hi, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean. Welcome along. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed the first video that we put out last week. Back today to talk about the Apple ecosystem. Now, specifically what I want to talk about today is how I use that Apple ecosystem to run my business, SMK Marketing, a small marketing agency based here in Dublin. I'm also going to go into a little bit of why I think anybody who's looking to set up a business or is new in business should adopt the Apple ecosystem to make their lives much easier, to run their business at a smoother, much easier and more streamlined way. Before we get into it, I mentioned in my first video last week, looking at a comparison between iPads, that I'm no tech genius. I'm just a bit of an Apple fan. I use a lot of Apple products in my day-to-day life and have done for a long time. I set up my business in early 2021 after having been let go during COVID from my previous job. And at the time, I have grown the business pretty successfully in the past year and a half, in large part thanks to the ecosystem of Apple products that I have gathered and set up in that time. As a brief overview again, SMK Marketing is a small digital marketing agency based here in Dublin. We help clients with a range of services from digital ad creation, social media management. Now, when I was setting up the business in late 20 and launching in early 21, I was using this. This is the 2014 MacBook Pro, which I have had since 2014. It's the Retina 13-inch. This is brilliant. I still have it, as you can see. My girlfriend actually uses it now as her everyday laptop. It still works pretty perfectly for sending emails, browsing the web, the odd bit of writing or Excel doc creation, that sort of stuff, which is all she really needs it for, but didn't want to sell it because it's been around for a long time. It served me really, really well, and it still works pretty perfectly for what she needs. But it very quickly didn't cut the mustard for me, so early on I upgraded pretty quickly. I started off briefly with the 13-inch 2020 M1 MacBook Pro, which did the job early doors, but very quickly it kind of wasn't quite cutting the mustard. I did want something a bit larger. The 13-inch was kind of just a stopgap because I knew that buying a 16-inch in early 2021 was a bit pointless because of those Intel chips, they would plummet in value. Lo and behold, if you have a look now, they have indeed plummeted in value because in late 2021, Apple launched the M1 Pro and M1 Max 14-inch and 16-inch versions, and that's what I got my hands on. It's going to take up the whole screen, but this is the 16-inch M1 Pro MacBook Pro. Got a nice cover on it. I like to keep it clean, but this is the space gray version. It comes with standard configuration of the 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU, 16 gigabytes of unified memory, but I did upgrade to a terabyte of storage because 256 on the last two laptops was absolutely nowhere near enough, especially now that I'm doing more content creation on a daily basis. Now, as great as the 2014 and 2020 models are, I absolutely adore this thing. This is easily the best laptop I have ever owned. I primarily use it attached to that big monitor over there in desktop mode to have a kind of two-screen setup, which I find much more comfortable to use than just one. But the main reason that I wanted the 16-inch over the 13 or 14-inch is that when I'm traveling, which I'm doing more and more now that, COVID is over and we can do stuff, this still allows me to work at 100% even when I'm not connected to that screen. The 13-inch monitors were just a little bit too small, a little bit uncomfortable, especially when doing video editing or photo editing. There's just not quite enough real estate on those screens. With this, by comparison, you get a mountain of space. Even with the notch, it doesn't really affect me in any real way. I traveled very recently, as I mentioned, to the US and Canada. I had this with me. I was working on it on a daily basis, doing all my work as perfectly normal, and I was very, very comfortable on it. I wasn't straining my neck to try look at it even on my lap. On the plane, it was actually fit perfectly on plane tables, believe it or not, and I was able to get all of my work done. There's so much space, and it's just a beautiful laptop, and it's extremely powerful. So that is my main go-to every day. This is what runs SMK Marketing on a daily basis. I would have absolutely no problem recommending this to anyone looking to set up a business or looking to upgrade their current business laptop to something a little bit more substantial, more powerful, something's going to last them for up to a decade, which I have no doubt that this very comfortably will. Although, if the size is a little bit off-putting, maybe you don't mind the squinting a little bit on a smaller screen, the 14-inch version of this is identical in almost every way, except for the slightly smaller screen and slightly smaller speakers. The choice is yours. I have a few different recommendations later on in the video, though. The 14 and 16-inch are obviously not the only options. However, with the launch of the new macOS Ventura later this year, the vast majority of the features will work best on M1, M1 Pro, or M2 chip MacBooks. So anything with an Intel chip from 2020 or earlier will very quickly start losing functionality and features. So if you want something that's going to last you a really long time and get the most out of Apple's updates for a longer time, do consider one of the newer models from 2020 or later. Now then, for the next bit, I'm going to have to change the angle of this film just a little bit. So, as I said, excuse this angle change. I have had to swap from the iPhone to the iPad because what I want to talk about now is the iPhone. My primary iPhone is this iPhone 12 Pro Max. And honestly, it is
Probably the best phone I have ever had. This is the base model, 128GB memory, and well, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's fast, it's massive, it's very, very comfortable to work off. That squared off redesign that Apple introduced in 2020 with this phone is, to my eye, much more comfortable to hold than the old rounded designs from the 6 to the 11. And to be honest, other than this being a dark blue color and the 13 having a light blue, you wouldn't really know the difference just to look at. And personally, unless Apple are planning to reinvent the wheel with the iPhone 14 lineup this year, which from leaks and rumors that I've seen so far, they're kind of not, I don't see any reason to really upgrade this anytime soon, probably for another at least year or two. And to be honest, if you're looking for an extremely good high-end iPhone, this is the one to go with. You can get them for almost half their original price, refurbished at refurb.ie. I'll put a link to that down below. They will come almost as good as new, and you'll never know the difference, and it will last you a very, very long time. This is such a good phone. I primarily use this as actually my content creation tool. I film my own content. As you know, I've been filming everything except this part of this video on this iPhone. I film 4K videos for my clients. I take photos for my clients, all using this phone. The connection through AirDrop with my laptop and my iPad makes sharing all that content really, really easy. I can edit something on one and go to the other. It's very, very simple and seamless to use. I'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later. I also use this, an iPhone 8. Now I use this primarily as a second phone, a work phone. This is an old phone that I've had for a very, very long time, and when I got the 12 Pro Max, there's no point really getting rid of this. It's not worth all that much to sell, which makes it a very good purchase used if you're in the market for one. It's still a good phone. It still gets all the updates you could possibly need, and it will get updates for several more years. It does film in 4K if you needed to, but the camera is not actually that great. But it is a very, very good purchase. All I did with this is, it's an unlocked phone, so I stuck a pay-as-you-go SIM card in it, pay a small amount of credit each month, and I use this for phone calls and text messages with clients. Handy because it means that I don't have to give out my own personal number to clients and potential contacts. I have a public work number, and then I can keep my private number separate on this. It also means that when I'm not working, I can put this on the desk and leave it there and separate and turn off. And I think that's really, really important as a sole trader, as a small business owner. Sometimes you might get too into it. Yes, that's good. You need to put the effort in to grow your business, but you also need to keep private time to private time, and having your phone buzzing off the wall all the time because you have it with you is just no good for your mental health, and mental health is very important. So when I'm finished my workday, I leave this on my desk and turn it on silent and ignore it. And weekends, same thing. And it's nice to be able to switch off. So I do recommend having that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a top of the line phone and a mid phone. You can actually pick up something like an iPhone 7 for as little as €110, link below, refurbished, and that is still a great phone. It's almost identical to this, and it will last you for several years.
Now then, back to the main angle on the iPhone, to continue filming on the iPhone, which I love to do, to talk about the iPad now this time. Now, if you saw my video earlier in the week, you will know that I recently upgraded from the 2019 iPad Air to this 2021 iPad Pro with the M1 chip. As I said, this is a recent upgrade, and I'm very, very glad I went through that upgrade because I have used this almost non-stop since I got it last week. I have already done a little bit of everything on it. I have done some ad creation, I've done some script writing, I have done some video editing, I have done some social media posting, I've done some photo editing, none of which I could do at anywhere near this level on the old iPad Air, and this is just so much more comfortable to work off. Honestly, this was a good purchase, and I'm very, very glad I bought it. The main reason that I did buy it was to have something smaller but still very powerful on hand for traveling short distances, so I don't have to lug around the massive 16-inch laptop everywhere. And in fact, I had a client meeting today, brought this along with me, and it was just a much nicer experience for me rather than having to lug a massive bag with the laptop in it. Didn't even have to bring a bag with me. This did everything I needed it to do. In combination with the Logitech Combo Touch keyboard, this was essentially a traveling laptop. It was brilliant. Now, that said, 90% of people probably do not need an iPad Pro, particularly if you've never had an iPad before and you're looking to set up your new ecosystem and supplement it with an iPad, which is something I absolutely recommend doing, whether you get a big laptop or a small laptop. Having that extra thing, whether it's for taking notes, going and visiting clients, sitting down, writing notes, writing out scripts, anything like that that you want to do, or some basic pro tasks, you probably don't need the full iPad Pro. What I would recommend, especially if it's your first iPad, is something like one of the newer iPad Airs, the 2022 or even the 2020 iPad Air are a good purchase. Or if you want something really compact, the iPad Mini, the new one, is gorgeous with that new design, and it's excellent. I had one of the original iPad Minis, and that was great for a couple of years. Lots of different options to consider, but I absolutely think that having an iPad to supplant a laptop is a great idea if you're setting up a new business. So that is the core 3 products that I recommend to any Apple ecosystem that I myself use: the iPhone, the MacBook, and the iPad. But what about everything else? Because there's a lot of other Apple products. Well, first off, I use these AirPods Pro. I had the original AirPods a couple of years ago. I upgraded to the Pros last year, and they have been a great purchase ever since, especially working from home. Now, I live in a one-bedroom apartment with my girlfriend, and it's fine. She's out to work most of the days. I work from home, but she works early in the morning to mid in the afternoon, so she's not doing a 9 to 5, which means that when she gets home, I'm usually still sat at my desk working. It's unfair to have to shaft her off into the bedroom, so all I do is pop these AirPods in. They have brilliant noise cancelling in them, so she can sit there and watch TV, whatever she wants. She's not disturbing me, and equally, I can be video editing something in my ear and not disturbing her, vice versa. But really, if you're working from home and you live with someone, they're a great little bubble creation tool if you need to just get a little privacy while there's other people in the house. I highly recommend these. You can get them for a really good price refurbished. I know that might sound a little bit disgusting, but actually I got these refurbished last year, considerably cheaper than they would have been new. Came as good as new in faultless condition. You wouldn't have known I hadn't just bought them from the Apple Store. They're really good. Good deal. So that's kind of it in terms of my own products, but why am I so reliant on Apple products is probably the main question. And no, honestly, it's not just to show off that I have lots of nice Apple products. I am long grown out of that. When I first got my iPhone, then yeah, that was definitely the case. But honestly now, it's much more functionality over form for me. And it's quite easy. It's in the title, I've said it a couple of times, it's the ecosystem. Apple have done such an incredible job of designing all of their software and all of their products to work interconnected together, even down to the fact that the new MacBooks have what are essentially phone processors in them, and the new macOS software is based on iOS more and more. You can actually get iPhone apps on your MacBook now. They're really joining up even more than ever. Gary, the Everyday Dad, if you've ever watched his channel, if not, I highly recommend it. He's a big inspiration. Talks a lot about this, and honestly, I completely agree with him. The Apple ecosystem, once you're in it, it's very hard to get out of, but you'd never really want to. It makes everything so easy, both from a personal and, more importantly, from a professional point of view. Some examples: I can start writing something on the iPad and pick it up an hour later on the MacBook, or even on my phone if I'm on the train, for example. Seamlessly, it just connects instantly through the cloud. If I take a picture with one phone, it's automatically available on the other phone, and if it's not automatically available on the MacBook, I can just airdrop it over in seconds. I'm not waiting on a WeTransfer link or a Dropbox link to upload and download, and takes forever. AirDrop is pretty much instant by comparison. If I hit copy on the MacBook, I can paste it on the iPad, I can paste it on the iPhone, and vice versa. That's such a handy system that I hadn't really had much use for until I was setting up my own business and had a few of these products on the go. Being able to copy a link, for example, on my phone and paste it into Safari on my MacBook to see it in full desktop screen is a really underratedly brilliant little feature. The AirPods seamlessly connect with all of the devices, so if I'm listening to something on the MacBook and then I get up and walk away and want to listen to something on the iPhone, I don't have to unpair it and repair it. They just automatically connect to whichever of my devices is actually playing music. The universal control feature allows me to essentially use my iPad as an extended screen for my MacBook, which is handy when I'm at my desk to have a third screen, but is especially handy when traveling to still have that dual screen setup when I'm traveling and away from my monitor, because I've gotten so used to having two screens. Universal control is excellent. I can answer phone calls on my MacBook or my iPad. With the new software, macOS Ventura and iOS and iPadOS 16 this year, they're even introducing FaceTime handoff. So I could be on a FaceTime call on my laptop and have to leave for some reason, pick it up on my iPhone and continue it while I'm on the go. What I'm trying to get at is that all of these features make running a business so much easier, more seamless, quicker, to be perfectly frank. I'm not waiting on third-party apps or one software system to connect to another software system because they're not compatible. Everything happens in an instant. It's just so much easier to go from one thing to the other. Sharing, connecting, calling, texting, the security systems are all just so much more reliable when you have all the same product, and Apple has really done an incredible job in making you want to have all of these products. As an additional bonus, Apple's productivity apps are completely free. Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, which are their versions of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, are completely free on virtually every single Apple device. This is great for two reasons. One, as a sole trader, you have enough expenses, especially if you're going to have to buy computers and phones and stuff like that. The last thing you want to do is fork out an extra several £100 just for Microsoft Word. And while Apple's products do have a fair reputation of being crazy expensive, you can get them for much cheaper. Refurbished Apple products are the best deal in the market. Doesn't matter where you get them, whether you get them directly from Apple, from Amazon, from refurb.ie, from Swappy, from Back Market, wherever you get them from, you get some excellent deals on refurbished Apple products that work almost like new. Take this for example, my 2014 MacBook Pro 13-inch. This will do almost everything you're going to want to do if you're just setting up a clinic or a small accounting firm or something where you don't need to be editing video on a high level on a daily basis. If you are just a normal office worker, even just to work from home, maybe not even setting up a business, you just want to work from home and you just need something basic, you can get this for about €390 refurbished on refurb.ie. And like I said, my girlfriend uses this on a daily basis and it does absolutely everything she needs it to do. It's still a good deal. You can get iPhones for next to nothing these days that will still last for a long time. Biggest benefit, in my opinion, of iPhones over Samsung and Android devices is how long they're supported for. If you buy an Android device, you won't get software updates after maybe 3 years, realistically more like 2 years. And if you want to get iOS 16, get a second generation SE or an iPhone 8 and you'll be able to get yet another upgrade on it. Apple's products last for a long time. Same goes for iPads. You could pick up the iPad Air 3 for as little as €380. This is the oldest iPad model that will be getting iPadOS 16 this year, so it will still get the newest software. And it's fine for everyday tasks. It's literally a great alternate, just a midway between your small phone and your big laptop. You can get all that for well less than €1,000. That's not bad if you're looking to save costs and set up early. However, if you can swing it with your setup costs, I do recommend investing more in a more powerful and more advanced Apple ecosystem early on. That's going to last you a lot longer and then you won't have to worry about those sorts of expenses. With that in mind, if you're looking for a newer MacBook, I would recommend something with, at the very least, one of the M1 chips, Apple's own silicon, from 2020 or later. So the 2020 MacBook Air or the new M2 MacBook Air coming out later this year. For iPhones, again, the 7 is a great choice. If you want something that's going to get the update this year and be supported for a little bit longer, do maybe look to something like the 8. But again, if you want something a little bit more pro, a little bit more powerful, a little bigger, a little bit more advanced that is going to last you for a long, long time, the iPhone 12 Pro Max that I have is now available for this much, which is a great discount on such a great phone. Again, you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference over a 13, especially if you just put it in a case. Who would literally ever know? You could also consider the iPhone 11, which is noticeably cheaper and still a great deal. It's still got those beautiful 4K wide and ultra wide cameras on them. They're really, really great price. You can get them from refurbished now at the moment. Personally, I think that's actually the best all-round deal for an iPhone that you can get right now. For the iPad, maybe do consider something a little bit newer than this. I would recommend maybe something with one of the newer designs which will age better and hold their value a bit better. So something like the new iPad Airs from 2020 or 2022. They're good value. The new one is quite expensive, but it does have that M1 chip in it. Like I said, so we'll get all the new features of iPadOS 16, which the older ones will not. Finally, while they're kind of nice to have as well, especially if you live alone, I do recommend looking into AirPods Pro. You can get them for a lot less than they would have been new, and actually the new ones are set to come out soon as well, so these ones will be even cheaper by then as well. So there we go. That is a look into my Apple ecosystem and what I would recommend for you setting up a business or new in business to get into the Apple ecosystem yourself. If you are a small company, whether you've been around for a couple of years or you're just setting up and you're looking for some help with your marketing, your setup, your digital ads and your social media, do please feel free to reach out to myself here at SMK Marketing. All the details are on the screen and linked down below. We're more than happy to have a chat to you. The initial consultation is completely free and we can work with anyone all over the world. So wherever you are, do give us a shout. Thank you very, very much for watching, for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you got value out of it, please do consider liking and subscribing. Hit the notification bell. I'm really enjoying doing this. I'm hoping I'm bringing some value to you as well. I have a few more things planned for the rest of the summer and I hope you'll enjoy them too. So get subscribed and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.